My name is Jonathan Parks, and welcome to Jonathan's Nature Crafts. At this moment, there's a little video I'd like to do to demonstrate a little bit as far as how we're going to paint Uncle Sam's Santa. You can see how I've painted enough into this one here, and we're going to work on this one as well. And I will kind of give little demonstrations as we go, and we can kind of be thankful for the moment for just the fact that we have gotten some new good paintbrushes that will work good and well for little projects like we're doing. And maybe for now, I'd say we might get out a little gold paint and kind of work on the little top hat here, or the patriotic hat that Uncle Sam wears. So here we're kind of getting things in to where we'll just kind of paint a good hat in a spot. And you can see for now that whenever I was kind of painting the first one after finishing the carving videos, it kind of just so happened that at that time we hadn't gotten the new brushes yet. We still had the old brushes, and they just weren't as good. They were kind of worn out and kind of losing their bristles in ways. So thankfully we got some new ones here that we can use. And I just got out the top of the hat here. Might come in and just paint along this little area around the brim. Might say that this is just one of the things where this little idea came out of a special book, and some of the interesting things we like to share about the work. And I'll tell you all a little bit more about it when we kind of move along here with the best things of what we have. So I'd like to say that everybody's good in this channel, and we're happy to have you here. So I just would kind of like to say that I might work along here, along this little area around here, and kind of make the inside of the hat now kind of come down to where we're just kind of getting things in place to where we'll kind of get a little spot or two in, kind of make things a little brilliant, go under the brim this time. And here, this is where we kind of take the matters into thought and consideration. And when you've got new brushes with good bristles, they can work so well. So I'm happy to say that this is turning out so great, and all the little painting that gets involved, it's just fine little work we need to make to see what we get out of a good looking work piece. So I can come down to this and say that maybe for a time or two we'll kind of get a little bit done on the top of the hat, a little bit on here, and might just kind of share a little more painting as we move along. Well, I'll tell you all that, as I said before, there's going to come a time where we will start to paint the faces of these little Santa Clauses and try to get the kind of just like work we need done into them. And there's a certain color that I have over here somewhere. It's kind of like a deep peach, and it's probably just well, I'll come to kind of tell you all here that there's just one or two little things. We come back and doing these little Santas, and it's about time we kind of take care of the eyebrows and the beard of Uncle Sam. And this is just one where we're going to take a tiny brush with a tiny end and tiny bristles and paint in some little eyebrows and put it in a place or two where we can just see how things shall come about. And I know at this time that with what we have here, we're getting the little brow in place where we see just how this comes out for the all the better. And maybe here just put another little bit of paint into that. And seeing one thing or another come true here, there's probably just a place or two where we might even need to kind of put in a little beard or two maybe. And I'd say with this whole beard and mustache, there can just be a little painting we can kind of get into the piece. And I'd tell y'all, for one thing, just with this brush, kind of brush along the little mustache and kind of get it into its little shape and make something of it that we're just going to see here. And I know sometimes that with this little brushing going on in mind, we can just get a little thing or two together where we just kind of make it like this. It's not as good as it should be according to the picture and the pattern, but I mean, I say with this in mind, there's probably this little moment where we get around to getting into this much of the beard and kind of putting it into its own little place and shape and state just to see what we're going to have of a fancy little Santa Claus coming to be, and maybe just make it so it's just going to have kind of a great little place to kind of put in a little bit of work inside. And maybe have times we'll just kind of like get the extra place in shot and kind of get it where we can see just how the beard is coming in like a little spot of place. So, we just got that much done here, and we're going to kind of come around here below the cheek and get this little part of the beard in as well, and just try to see what we can just get out of this to where it's just going to be some fine little disaster that makes a way to the way we do. And I could say for one thing for sure that coming around here on this little place of the beard, there's just a little moment when we kind of got to just take care of these little things and put little areas around where we see just what this shall come to be when we get a little done with it here. And you know kind of just working a little ways in where we can like make things the painted way that they should be. And coming up here, we're just taking this flat ended brush and coming up here along the hat and, just brushing down below it. Kind of got to get little places out of here where we can just see how the beard is going to float along and kind of make a way to us where we're just going to see fine little sculpting work just make its own way and kind of come down to where we can just get away and just put things in the place where we need them to be and just see how fancy a little work shall just be made out. So finally, I say we're just making the beard and the hair and all the things that come about here. And with these Santa Clauses, sometimes the beard and hair, the way they're both white as snow, they sometimes come together in a way. And I could say with this little thing in mind, just painting things away to kind of see what little good skill we have come right out of a good piece of work. And all the things I like to share about this kind of work are here and they're for us to know about and listen about and watch and being demonstrated. And with this little thing in mind, I'm coming down and taking the brush down the back of the head, right below the cap, trying to keep it in the best line we can keep it in, just to kind of make it so it's just straight and forward and coming down to where we get in a little bit of the back of the hair, just to kind of work a little place in mind where we can just kind of see things just happen in an instant and have it where we're going to have fine little works to make their ways about to us. So I'd say with little things happening, we're just going to work our way down, making it down to where the little fancy ideas and things can just kind of come our way and see just what we can make of a good little sculpting thing. So finally, I say we got it in its spot. Maybe for where there's little cracks in the carving of the wood, we can kind of coat those in with a little bit of extra paint and put little spots in where we cover all this little mess we make. So finally, I say there's just kind of ways we get it all in place and come down to this fine little painting of a beard and a head of hair. So that's what we say for this step. Well, I say for the moment, there's probably going to be a thing or two that we'll do here. And, there's just kind of going to be some things where we take a little navy and we paint the blazer of this Uncle Sam Santa Claus and just kind of put the line in a little bit of a good place where it just needs to be and finally just put it right in where it's kind of got to show in its own little spot. I say I could put something in to make it so it's going to be a little bit more brilliant in ways and come down to think of it maybe, just put a little bit in place where we make out the little blazer uniform just to kind of put something on poor old Uncle Sam Santa just to put his ways in a good little test of mine. So I'd say for one thing that there's going to be just times when we kind of show a little navy here that we use, and I say that when it came down to it, that there was just something about this blazer to the Santa in the book where I decided it would kind of be a good idea just to make him a little taller and, make another version of him. And it's kind of something similar to how it was when it just came to a time when I was carving some of these bigger Santas out of these little pieces of log. And sometimes just things like that give me the inspiration to make my own pattern for something, and that gets to be the way it kind of comes out. And just for this moment, I'm just happy and satisfied with how things are just really turning out to be. So I could say with this little thing in mind, there's just a lot to show for the kind of work that we do, and maybe in a little time or another here, just kind of put the little coat into place. So we know sometimes it's almost like we always saw those old posters, and how when it came to musicians and things like that, how it would be like Uncle Sam would kind of put out that poster, and or I mean people would make the posters that had Uncle Sam on them, and he'd be pointing his finger and it would say, "I want you to practice." So it was kind of like somebody's little inspiration to practice an instrument. And I'll tell y'all that when we're coming down to what we have here, it's like getting a little bit of color down into the coat to the place where it needs to be. And it's a good little thing that we've got a flat-ended brush here, because that is what kind of helps us keep it separated from where it doesn't need to be. And I could probably also just say some things about even times in my life when I kind of did the kind of work where we painted the interiors of houses, and sometimes even whenever it came to painting those walls, some people had a special way they had of doing those things and making it that way. But I'd say for me, even learning it as a beginner was very hard, so I didn't really grasp or get all of it. So I could say that this little time we've kind of got to get little things together, make it so we got Uncle Sam just out in his place, and seeing how the blazer is just fit for him. So finally, with all that navy blue paint that was made in painting his blazer, that's what I have to show for this segment. One thing I would be kind of happy to share with you all is one other thing we kind of need to do with Uncle Sam is paint that little shirt that is in the middle of the blazer, and kind of just get a little bit of something right in the place where we need to make the little place for its shirt in spot, and just try to get little work put in to make it where we see these little lines just coming right into place. You probably see what we got here now, and probably got to make other little lines here come below the beard, and just kind of do a little thing or two here. And maybe I say just kind of put the coat on like that, and kind of with all the little bit of painting the way we're just going to try to make it so it's going to be a fine fashion of an Uncle Sam together us, and just kind of take it so easy and light here. And this is probably about the place where we come with this. And probably for a little thing or two else, we can probably at a certain point come down to maybe painting the pant legs, and we'll get around to that as soon as we can. They'll be painted white and they will be given red stripes. Now, as for the moment, I decided to get Uncle Sam Santa back out, and this time just kind of decided I'd start kind of working on the pant legs here and kind of getting them where they're just about to be painted now, and kind of start out with a little white like we usually do and kind of put it in its freaking place. And so sometimes I think that this is just kind of what we do. And I mean, I tell y'all that probably it's just kind of one of the things we're going to measure out of this to kind of get a little bit of something in, a little bit of extra work for the piece. So finally just say that nice little work is being made in just to work a little something out of this. And so finally get the legs in place. We're going to kind of do this, and again, I say it's a good thing we've got new brushes, let alone a flat-ended brush, which can kind of just like do the job so well and kind of make it so it's going to be a fine little, awesome little piece to make. And so I can say with this little thing in mind, we're just kind of working together to get something done out of a fine work. Now here you can probably see I'm coming down to where might be getting down to the ends of the legs by now, trying to get them a little more in place. Maybe come here along the back and kind of get a little extra paint in there just to try to get the flat head of the brush in its own place. And maybe for now kind of come back and just kind of take care of what's back here with these legs and just see what we got to take in the place of the kind of work we're making out of a deer Santa. So I know sometimes, just sometimes, it's always neat and interesting to have Santas of different kinds in different ways, and might even just kind of make it so it's going to be kind of unique just to kind of get it out and kind of work with it a little bit. So I know sometimes that little things can make things better for us and what we want to do with them, and I'll be happy to kind of work a little harder and see how much better a good old piece can turn out. So with that in mind, I say we come back and just kind of try to remove a little extra stuff along these lines and get rid of all this little bare wood. Kind of make it so it's going to be a fancy little work out of nothing to kind of tell us all a little ways that we can see just how good fancy objects can be made as wonderful little crafting ideas for you and me. You know, there's just so much we see, and even when it comes around time for the 4th, I like to show a little Uncle Sam Santa now and then, because that's probably the time when, we have the 4th at the beginning of July, and we have a little mid-year Christmas celebration for shoppers, probably later on in July. So that's kind of one reason I think that the patriotic Santa is kind of good for both occasions. And when we come down to just doing the little extra piece we have in this, I can say that this is just an honorable little state of happiness for a good little carving of a piece. So I do want to say that as we add a few more layers in, it's going to be good. There may come a time we'll come back and add another layer or two to kind of make the pants even wider, but that's what I want to show for right now. Well, we already kind of painted the white pants on the Uncle Sam Santa, and there's a place down here underneath the pants where a little bit of white paint needs to be put in as well. Try to kind of get things about as good and equaled out as we can make them, and seeing how this shall kind of turn out for good and for the better will kind of get things a little in place. And where there's a little blue spot under there, we kind of need to cover that a bit. So finally come down and just get a little bit of something in this space, just kind of like working our ways down to whatever the heck we have, and just kind of get into where we can, with this flat-ended brush, kind of get the white lines right into place. And with this little spot under here, all the little things we take care of here, all for the better and the best. I could say that it's just kind of like my little world is just kind of taking its place, where getting a thing or two done with all the awesome work I have to share. So sometimes, just sometimes, you know, projects got to be good and it's got to be great, but we make our way through it. So I'll say that Little Fancy Santa can be a trophy of hard work and be a good source of money when you get the whole thing finished. So there's some of these little projects. Can't wait to get them out in places where I can have them fully displayed, and maybe just be able to see just how much more interest I might be able to spark over time. So I say that there's just times when we work a little harder and make things better. So I say with this is a fine line to paint. Now, there might be some steps that we'll come back around and take care of later, but as for now, that's the one we do. Well, I'll tell y'all something, that when it comes down to what we have here, I'd kind of like to just mention that there's something that I can kind of say just to show how we did when we painted the stripes on the original pants of one of the Uncle Sam Santas. And there's probably a thing or two that I'm going to try to do right here, and kind of take some little brushes and just like get little things done with them, and try to like see what we're going to have with this little piece or two. So come down to this, I say put in a little red, and there is a red stripe around the top of the golden hat, or like around the top of the brim, and that goes all around it. And that is just something that we kind of do here just to kind of get things a little bit in line as just far as how they're going to go. And I like to say with these little steps we like to take, we're kind of getting things in such a good little spot for what we're going to come to know. So I got the red line all around. There's probably going to be a time or two when we're going to add on a little more just to kind of try to thicken the paint a little better. But as for right now, it's just a good idea that we try to paint the little stripes onto the pant legs, and kind of try to get them in a good little place or state where they're going to need to be, and try to get it right here where we're going to see little things that sparkle and glow for us. So I know sometimes that there's just all these little lines we take where we make things in a proper looking fashion of a way. So finally say that there's just one or two things we'll do, try to get things in a good proper shape for what we have to make, and just see that this comes down to a perfect little angle of a figure. So with that in mind, we kind of make the stripes come into the place where we do this sort of thing, and just see with everything that comes right out of it, comes out good and clean. Maybe there'd be a time where we come to the corners of the pants as well, kind of try to get a little red stripe on each of them, and just kind of like see what we make right here with this little red line and one little stripe coming into place. I say it's just kind of making it so the Uncle Sam has a good way to turn out. So we got a little line here, make it its way, and there's other things we'll have to come back and cover later, as far as just getting a little white over places where the line or the stripe might have smudged a little bit. And I'd probably also just kind of mention that we're going to get down to where we make a stripe in this little spot, come in its little way. And I will tell you one thing, nothing's ever going to be perfect the first time you do it. So there's always going to be some struggle along the way. And in life, I tell you, nothing can be done perfect in every way. So that's just how it is with a little fashion and deception of a piece. And finally, I say there's going to be some lines to make along the little backs as well. Try to get little lines put in place down the back of the pant leg. Get it in a good little shape where it needs to be and ought to be. So I tell you all that there's just some of this work. It's going to have a fine looking way to kind of take on just the little proper steps we're going to need. I'll say it also got smudged a little on the hat stripes, so we'll be having to come back and take care of that too. Kind of put a little gold again over that. So I say as we're just kind of putting things away here, it's kind of going to be a time where sooner or later we're going to get around to the shoes and the eyes of these little Santa figures and just do little things to kind of get them all in their own proper shapes. As we conclude this section of the video, there is just one last thing I need to demonstrate whenever it comes to the Uncle Sam Santa, and that is that there are little buttons like in the center of his undershirt and on the back of his blazer that will be painted white here. We're going to kind of use a little thin brush to do it and try to get the circle in its own good right little shape, I say, and kind of get it where it's going to need a little bit of fashion and work put in. And I'll tell you all that after this little white circle dries, there's going to be a gold circle to be put in the middle to make out the buttons. So that is one little step we got to take right here. There's something we kind of need to do in the back and make the buttons on the back of the blazer as well. Kind of put them in their little spots and kind of make them a little round, I say, and just kind of, like kind of get them in just a good little place for a good little cause. So we just got one button here. There might be another one we'll kind of make over here as well. Try to put in another little round circle for another one and try to kind of get it in its own place, I say, and just kind of knowing what this will come down to being when we get a little something done in here and make it so we're going to see just a fine back to a blazer and kind of get little special things in mind where we're going to try to get little pictures together and see just how this collides. So there comes a moment when we kind of just got to do one thing here, and I'd say after this white paint dries, we will come back to put the little gold circles into the middle. So, well, I will say that for just a little tiny circle of paint like that, it doesn't take it long to dry. So we come back around and put in the little gold in the center of each button, just to kind of get it into its own little place, and see how we make it come in just like that, and come to the other side too. We're going to put a gold circle into this little white button, kind of get it in its own little proper shape that we need for what we have to work with, and just kind of put in a little something to make a round little circle of gold right inside the white. So with this in mind, we're getting it done just like this, and hope to share much more with you in a future video. Well, now I will conclude to say that as of these videos where I have demonstrated how I do the cosmic and patriotic Santas, this is going to be the conclusion where I end this video. And since there's so much in common on the parts where the shoes are made and the eyes are made, in which they are painted, that will all be together in one upcoming video. So thank you all so much, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to this channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.